So, welcome everybody. Today we've got Tara Kremen from Kobo, and Tara and I have been working together for years. So, when we very first started Fictionary, Tara is very kind to us, and you know how I like kindness, and invited us onto the Kobo network, and we got to present there, and she came onto ours, and we did work together with Pro Writing Aid and Lisa, who everybody here knows. And so I'm kind of excited to have Tara here today. So Tara is the director of Kobo Writing Life, and it's an independent publishing platform, which of course many of our authors are. And sorry if I look a little distracted, it's because I'm admitting people at the same time. She's a subject matter expert in all indie publishing with a decade of experience. She's dedicated to making Kobo Writing Life the greatest and most user-friendly self-publishing platform available. And I can tell you personally, Tara runs that with kindness. See, my K came out. She leads a team of book lovers, which we all are, who are actively involved in indie publishing community and always looking for ways to help authors reach a new audience. So Tara's going to come here today to talk to us about Kobo and how Kobo can help us all as writers. So I'm going to hand it over to Tara.
Sure. Thanks, Christina. And thanks everyone for joining today. I have a deck to go over where I'll give you a little rundown of like what Kobo is and what we work on. And then we'll have time for some questions at the end, I hope, if I have my timing correctly. Also, if you have questions throughout, feel free to pop them in the chat, or if I'm talking too quickly, I'm from Ireland originally, so I have to remind myself to not talk very quickly, as is our nature. But please, I'll keep an eye on the chat as well if there's any questions. So let me make this bigger. Oh, do you see the wrong screen? Yeah, there we go. Is that better? Okay, perfect. There's nodding. I'm assuming that's fine. Okay, great. So let's get started. So that is me. You can often find me with my head in a Kobo. I'm the director of Kobo Writing Life, as Christina said. I've been working with Kobo for 12 years now, which seems like a very long time to be staying in a place, but I get a lot out of working here, and I feel like I started off in a different piece, and I kind of know the fronts and backs of the Kobo Writing Life business. So I think it's good to have a lot of that experience. So just to go over a quick agenda of what we'll do today. So I'll have an overview of Rakuten and Kobo if you're not familiar with either of them, and then we'll focus kind of on the publishing to Kobo Writing Life piece, and how to reach Kobo readers. And then we'll talk about some best practices, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the Kobo Writing Life community and what we do with the indie authors. I forgot to mention, I apologies in advance if my dog starts barking. I will try and not alarm anyone with that, but just my apologies if that happens. So to give you an overview, so Rakuten is our parent company, and Rakuten is based out of Japan. Kobo is headquartered here in Toronto in Canada, and we were acquired by Rakuten, I think back in like 2011. It was just before I had joined. And Rakuten is a global e-commerce giant. They are kind of heavily involved in the kind of Rakuten Americas at the moment, which Kobo kind of falls under. And this is just a snapshot to give you a little bit of insights into the areas where Rakuten operates. And I like to highlight this because it just kind of goes to show like Kobo has a very global perspective. And part of that is to do with like our parent company as well. Being able to like leverage some of like their partnerships and open certain doors, being part of this system. So Rakuten operates in 30 countries and regions, and they have 1.8 billion global members that are using Rakuten services, and it's 70 plus services. So this wheel kind of gives you a little overview where there's mobile services, where Rakuten Viber, which is very similar to like WhatsApp, or I was going to say Telegram, but it's not quite like, well, it's similar. It's a messaging app. And Rakuten Mobile. There's the e-commerce, the Ichiba, which is based out of Japan. There's a lot of card and payment, banking, securities, insurance, and sports and culture. If you're based in the States, you might recognize Rakuten. Well, one, they've been doing a lot of advertising in the States, as there's the Rakuten Rewards, which is a cashback whenever you go shopping online with Rakuten.com, you can like earn cash on each purchase. So there's lots of ads. I think they had Super Bowl ads for the past 2 years, which is always very impressive. And then they've also gone into sports sponsorship. So they're the sponsor of the Golden State Warriors, the NBA team. So if maybe that's why Rakuten is familiar to you. And I just wanted to point out here, so there's the digital content arm, and that's kind of where Kobo fits. So we're their kind of digital ebook, audiobook retailer. So just to give you a sense of where we're slotted within the Rakuten ecosystem. I see you love your Rakuten account. Great. I hope you're earning a lot of rewards with that, Connie. So within that, Kobo stands for books. It is quite literally an anagram of the word book. That's where Kobo comes from. And we really try to think that we make reading lives better. Our whole company is based on the digital reading experience. We work, like I said, headquartered out of Toronto, but we're based all around the world. But we design our e-readers and everything in-house. I think one of the big things that makes us stand out is that we're not trying to get you into the Kobo ecosystem to then upsell you a non-book related product. We're only focused on trying to get you the next read, and to make sure it's the most relevant book to you, or to you in this case being the customer. So we create world-class acclaimed e-readers and apps, and we partner with the largest brick and mortar retailers around the world, expanding their catalog to give readers everywhere more choice. So part of that means that there's a lot of physical bookstores where we would power their digital experience, and that's been a really great way to for us to partner and really have a footholding globally. And like it says here, we do live and breathe books. That we're wanting to make people's reading life the best that it can be. And I wanted to give you a little snapshot of some of the devices that we have if you're not familiar. So we make Kobo e-readers. Our latest releases were these two color devices, which were our very, very first color e-readers. So we have the Kobo Libra color and the Kobo Clara color. And to give you some insights, we really like to think of the Kobo Libra as our most inspiring e-reader yet. You can bring magic to your margins by annotating your pages and organizing your thought and highlighting inspiring lines all in color. So it's integrated with the Kobo stylus, which actually allows you, and this might be really helpful to writers, you can share this with your editors, and you can actually mark up and edit your books within Kobo itself. It's all integrated within Dropbox, so there's seamless sharing. And what's cool about the color devices now is that you get to actually choose, if you're highlighting and doodling, you can pick the colors. There are these lovely muted pastels, which is just really exciting. So we launched this, maybe it was back in April of this year. And then just to add to like what is going on with these e-readers, there's an awful lot of features. So I tried to condense this as much as I could. But they contain, well, the Kobo Libra, it has the Comfort Light Pro. So that is when your e-reader is going to shift to sort of an orange-based light. You can time it. It's very kind of similar to how your phone might shift into like going away from the blue light. So it's just to make it a more gentle experience for reading at nighttime. It also has dark mode that you can use as well. And it's thoughtfully made with recycled and ocean-bound plastics, which is something that's really important to us as we're kind of developing and releasing e-readers every year. We want to make sure that we're actually having a kind of good impact on the world. So we're making them with recycled plastics. And something that we've just launched this year is that these e-readers are actually repairable as well. So we're kind of wanting to make these to last. And if there's some problem with them, we're trying to encourage people to repair, and we'll work with them to like repair e-readers so you can kind of keep reading as long as you can. The Kobo Libra is also waterproof, which I love because waterproof is also kind of sandproof. So if you're at the beach, you don't have to worry about things getting caught in anything. And you can also listen to audiobooks with them. It's integratable with, you can connect to Bluetooth devices. So that would be to either Bluetooth speakers or your headphones and listen to audiobooks. And it's also got overdrive integration. So you can actually get library books, both audiobooks and ebooks through your Kobo. So it's kind of all in one place. And then finally, the Kobo Ellipsa, just that one there. This is our like premium device, which had our largest 10-inch screen. And it was the first one that we brought out with the stylus. So it's really, really good for if you did want to be using it to like mark up things. Or as Christina and I were talking about beforehand, if you have a nonfiction book and your readers have an option to take notes within it. It's a perfect kind of perfect way to read those books. So the Kobo Libra is $249.99 in CAD. The Kobo Clara, which is also in color, is $179.99 in CAD, and the Kobo Ellipsis, the premium, which is $499.99. But yeah, we were really proud of being able to bring the color to the Kobo Clara to kind of make it an accessible device that wasn't really out of reach of a lot of budgets. All right, so that is my device spiel, and then I'll get into the publishing. So Kobo Writing Life stands for writers. We were built by authors for authors, and when we're developing our website, it's something that we really keep at the forefront. We welcome a lot of feedback, and we really take that on board when we're trying to develop new features for authors. So this is a quote from our CEO, Michael Tamlin. So I like to highlight this with authors just because it kind of shows you how we work as a company, that from the top down, we understand the importance of the indie community within selling books. So Michael Tamlin, who we call him MT, he said, "What gets me excited about working with the indie author community is that no one's more willing to jump on a new way of doing things if it means that they can put another book in someone's hands." And I love that. And that's also one of my favorite things about working with this community is how experimental people are and really willing to jump on new trends far before traditionally published titles are. And that's why indies are often so far ahead, because they're willing to try new things. So with Kobo Writing Life, it's a very easy process to create an account and get your book published. You can just go to kobo.com/writinglife, and that's where you can set up an account. You can self-publish in a few steps, and then you can promote it to your global market, and you can earn up to 70% in royalties. So depending on how your book is priced, if anything is over $2.99, you'll earn 70% on royalties for your ebooks. And we don't have a higher price cap, so that's something to keep in mind. You can price as high as you like, and you're still earning that 70%. So what makes us a little bit different to the other indie publishing platforms is that, again, we're kind of really, our mission is to help authors reach as many readers, however they want to read. We won't ask you for exclusivity. You're always free to publish elsewhere. We actually kind of encourage people to publish on as many platforms as possible because you really want to get your name out there to as many readers as possible. So we'll never ask you for exclusivity. We just hope to be one part of your overall publishing piece. And then through Kobo's strategic partnerships, your books will be available all around the world. And you can see updates in real time with detailed sales analytics in our easy to use dashboard. And the most important piece, I think, is that we're a small team, but we have a really big vision and very proud of the reputation that we have of being one of the most author-friendly platforms out there. So part of coming direct with Kobo Writing Life is that you get access to this team who are heavily involved in the indie community and can kind of help and guide and build these relationships, because we do understand that these are partnerships. We're all in the same, we're all trying to get the same goal of like finding more readers. So that's really important to us. And this is just some screenshots to show you the hashtag KWL map to really it's a good visual of the global sale. So Joanna Penn here, who is just so prolific in the community, she often shares this map. I think this was from earlier in the summer, where she has English language books sold in 180 countries through Kobo Writing Life, which is wild. She actually once asked us like which countries she was missing so she could try and target them. But it's nice to see the different global reaches here, and you can see Gavin and Sky McKinnon also sharing their maps. So we like to encourage people to share them on X or Threads from time to time, and it's great to see. And I think it's always really encouraging. We've heard some authors can kind of maybe feel a little discouraged, and then they'll look at their map and be like, "Oh wow, like that shows you where you have readers all over the world." So that's something that's available on the Kobo Writing Life dashboard. So our mantra, as I mentioned, really is to help you reach readers wherever they are and however they want to read. So I like to break the type of readers that you can reach through Kobo into 4 sections. So we have your traditional digital reader. So this person is probably owning a Kobo device. They're buying books a la carte, like one by one. They're probably an avid reader and they love to read all the time, probably keep their device on with them. Then you have the access to the listener, the audiobook consumer. We find that the people that listen to audiobooks like to have audiobooks while they're doing tasks. I don't know about you guys, but my apartment has never been as clean when I'm listening to a very good audiobook, or my dog is very, very much walked. So listeners try and they're kind of multifunctional. They're listening while they're doing things, and they're kind of primarily focused on audiobooks, though they do overlap sometimes with a digital reader as well. And then we have the borrower, who the person is kind of mostly uses the library to find their books. There's a real emotional connection to the library. People love going in person. They love supporting the library. So they really kind of are happy to wait for a hold for a book, and they'll really follow people and borrow through the library. And they like that they can use that on Kobo. And then the last one we have is the subscriber. So this subscriber could also fall into these other buckets, but they're probably subscribed to Kobo Plus, which is our non-exclusive subscription program where you pay a certain amount a month. I think it's I should know actually off the top of my head. I think it's $9.99. That might be US. It might be 12. Anyways, it's around $9.99 a month. And it's an all-you-can-read model. So these readers tend to be the most voracious, where they probably pick books based on like the immediate recommendation and maybe by feel. And they're very willing to try a new author, to try a book. And it doesn't even have to be a new book. They're very willing to kind of pick to just read the next thing that kind of like feels the same in the same genre to what they're interested in.
Tara,
Hmm.
on the library, can you explain how the author gets compensated when people borrow an ebook from the library?
Yeah, I have a slide in a little while
Oh,
about
okay,
that, but
do
I
it
can
then, do it then, don't do it then. Don't let me.
no, no problem, no problem. I'll dive a little bit into these to kind of show you how from the author perspective, yeah, you can get there. Um, so then this is for ebooks, and you consider, I didn't go into too much detail about publishing your book because we do get the feedback that it is one of the easiest platforms to use. So it really is just the 4 steps where you add your metadata, you update the file, you set your rights and distribution, and then you set the price. But what we know is that, we're over a decade into this independent publishing and digital books in general. And what becomes the difficult part, we hope, like the publishing should be the easiest bit. The difficult part is the discoverability. So with this in mind, we built a promotions tool just for Kobo Writing Life authors. So if you don't see this when you create your account, it's because we just have to enable it for you. It's kind of what I like to call a terribly kept secret, where we tell everyone about it, but it's just not there. And the reason for that is that we have authors over the world, but the promotions are primarily in English. And it's kind of just a development thing that it's not there for everyone. But so you can just email the team at writinglife@kobo.com, and they'll happily enable you access to this tool. So we have promotions that are updated on a weekly basis, and there's a variety of options. So we have spotlights for free titles because we noticed that, free first in series is still a really good way to gain new readers. Perhaps you're applying for a BookBub and you have a free BookBub for however long. You can kind of also try and leverage that and apply for our free book, where we'll feature your book on our free ebooks page. And we have seasonal features. So I think right now the team is very much getting all the spooky books going into October. So those are different features, and those will go out to emails to Kobo customers. We even have options for translation. So if you have your books translated into French, there's options for various promotions there, because we do have a team that are based in Europe as well. And we just added promotions for Kobo Plus too. So you can apply for your book to be featured in a carousel for Kobo Plus readers. And it's a really great way of kind of increasing discoverability. And we can also make promo codes for you. It's really easy for us to do that. It's just not author facing. So you can just send us an email if you'd like that. With these promotions, some of them have upfront payment for to be featured in the promotions, and some of them have a COGS reduction. So what that would mean is that instead of earning 70%, you would earn 60%. So if you're new to Kobo, I kind of would recommend going for those ones, because if it doesn't go tremendously well, you're not down. And personally, I don't like to charge for things if you're not going to get your return on it. But with keeping that in mind, our costs are very reasonable. I think we start at $5, and our most expensive promo is $50, I believe. And that's for our daily deal and for some of our Kobo Plus features. Oh no, it's $100 for the daily deal and then $50 for the Kobo Plus. But anyway, we try and keep them in a very reasonable price frame to make sure that it's accessible to as many authors. And we try to be fair with them as well. And one thing I will say is that there's just competition can be fierce. So don't be discouraged if you see any declines. I would encourage you to kind of keep applying. The worst case scenario is that you're putting your books in front of our merchandisers or who are the people that you would like to see them in the first place. So yeah, I encourage you to use this. And this is just a highlight of what the kind of promotions look on the customer side. So you can see our free books page, which is totally curated with Kobo Writing Life titles. And we have an editor's pick, and then we have different carousel. The free first in series carousel is probably the most sought after one. And then you can see our daily deal feature. We get a couple of daily deals each month, and that's kind of one of the main deal features of the whole Kobo.com site. And then we have, this is an example of save on bundles and box sets of like a promo code promotion that people can apply to be featured in. And those also have an email that goes out to customers as well. So it's definitely, we definitely hear that for new authors, the promotions really help lift. And once you kind of get that little bit of a lift on Kobo, it can be much easier to maintain readers. So just to talk to the audiobook piece, so you can also publish audiobooks directly on Kobo Writing Life if you happen to have them. Again, you just have to email us for access to this. Another terribly kept secret, but we're happy to enable this for you. Something when we built out the audiobook feature, again, considering authors, we wanted to make sure there was as much control as possible. So you can set the pricing in 15 currencies, you can set up pre-orders, you can set a pre-order date as far ahead in the future. I know there's some competitor sites that are a bit more restrictive with pre-orders, but you can also push the date. We're not going to cancel anything. You can distribute your audiobooks to Kobo Plus. And I think the biggest selling feature, your audiobooks are published within 24 hours, which is a huge turnaround time. It's because we process it all in-house. So your books will be published very, very quickly. We have lots of promotional opportunities. They're not quite on the promo tab yet. That's my dream one day. But we have a separate mailing list just for audiobook promotions that you can get connected on, and we can add you to that. And then also something to note is that we do accept AI audiobooks. So if you are kind of wanting to dip your toe into the audiobook market, but you're not too sure if you want to invest, you can try out the kind of the likes of the Google AI audiobooks, and we'll accept them as well. The one caveat I would just say is that in the narrator field, you just kind of have to make it very, very clear that this is AI narration, just to temper customer expectations. That's the only thing that we're concerned about, that people know what they're receiving. And I think in our mind, there's a market for both human narration and AI. And we'll accept both. We just have to be clear what we're selling to customers. That's all. And here I'll talk to the library piece. So you can distribute to libraries on, it's just one of the steps that's available. So on your rights and distribution, so all you have to do to distribute your book to libraries is enter a library price. And this is in USD because Overdrive are based in the States. So the general rule of thumb for library pricing is that you're kind of wanting to set the price around the same as a mass market paperback. And that tends to be like 2 to 3 times the ebook price. And the reason that you do that is because library books are a little bit different to how like ebooks are sold like a la carte. So they're sold there's 2 models. So the OCOU, which stands for one copy, one user. So this is the same as if you consider a physical book in the library, right? So the library has one physical book and that can be loaned out multiple times. So that's why you price your book higher, because you're trying to kind of consider the loans that are going to happen for this. And then we also have the CPC option, which is the cost per checkout. So this is where the library can buy your book just for a one-time loan, and they can buy it at 10% of the price. So if you're in this example here, the library price is $19.99. So the library can buy it for that, and then they can have that option to be loaned out, or they can buy it for $1.99. Because I know sometimes we get the feedback where people are kind of like, I don't really want to price my book high because I want libraries to buy it. I would say just to keep in mind that they do have the option to do the CPC. And a lot of people, like from anecdotally, what I hear from Overdrive is that I think I want to say it's about a third of our books are sold demand driven, meaning that people have requested the titles. So I think the CPC option is a really great way for a library to kind of take a chance on an author because they have specific budgets, right? They're kind of restricted. So they could buy for the lower price. And then what we hear is that they could buy multiple copies and then they often go back and then buy a book for the higher price. So then they have that in their inventory. So that's something to keep in mind. And then with Kobo Writing Life, because Overdrive is actually a former sister company of ours, they were acquired by Rakuten for a brief period. So with that, we kind of have this good synergy with them, and you earns 50% of each library sale. So there's no aggregator fee. It's a really great kind of easy way to opt your books in and to get access to the library market. And Overdrive always share stats at the start of every year. I'm so excited to see what this year will be, but I have to wait until January. But in 2023, they reported they had 662 million loans, which is an annual growth of 19%. And when you consider that digital books and the library really took off in like the pandemic, like 2020, 2021, they're growing each year even since then. So I think it's really great to see how people have adopted the library system. I think part of it probably is to do with their app Libby, which they launched in maybe like a year or two ago. It was kind of a rebrand of their Overdrive app. So people can download the app and read it. And it's super, it's really easy. It's very easy to function, very easy to find books, very easy to read through. And fun fact, Libby is short for librarian because I didn't know that until recently. So that's why the app is called that. She's their librarian. And we do also have promotions that we do with Overdrive that, again, they're not on the promotions tool, but if you sign up to one of the mailing lists, we can reach out to you about that because we sometimes do Kobo specific promotions with them, given that relationship. And you'll always earn 50% of each sale. And then the last piece I want to talk about, which I'll go into a little bit in depth in, is, excuse me, Kobo Plus, which is our subscription model. So it's a reading program that allows authors to reach a whole new audience. So it's very similar to like other competitor subscription models, but we think it is much more affordable. This is the USD pricing. So the customers have the option for Kobo Plus Read and Listen, which is both options, or they could pick a Kobo Plus Read or a Kobo Plus Listen. For they only pay $9.99 or $7.99 a month. So from a customer perspective, it's a really great deal, and they have such a great selection of books to pick for. And we built it with author flexibility in mind. So when you opt your book into Kobo Plus, there's no required opt-in time. Like you don't have to leave your book in for 90 days. You can take it out if you'd like. I mean, obviously we would encourage you to keep your book in because it's better to gain traction. But we built it out so you do have the option of removing it if you would like. We also have the option where you can select all countries or you could pick and choose. So we really wanted to give as much flexibility to authors as possible. And I'll talk about the countries where Kobo Plus is in because we've been rapidly expanding. And then we have the promotional opportunities that I talked about a little bit earlier, where you can kind of get your book in front of the Kobo Plus readers. And one thing that's a little bit different about the promotions for Kobo Plus is that it's not just highlighted on the Kobo store and in emails. It's actually also in the device store. So that's something that we've been trying out for the first time because especially with Kobo Plus, you want to just be able to easily tap the next book. So we want to make sure that those books are Kobo Writing Life books that are first ones there, so that the authors can kind of be featured. And something that's cool about that promotion is that so we pick 6 books purely because that's what's on a carousel that can be seen. And then each week we update it. But what's really cool is that we don't remove them. We just move them down the carousel. So we've been noticing a little bit of a tail when people kind of scroll along and they're seeing the different books that are available. So it's kind of just an additional way of reaching new readers, essentially. And this slide might be a little bit complicated. I'm happy to answer any questions in details, but it's to show you how we calculate our payments. So it's a revenue share model, which is kind of the same. Like all of the subscription services kind of use a similar model. What's mainly different about Kobo is that we calculate using minutes read. So we don't use page reads. It's the amount of time somebody is spending on your book. This allows us to calculate ebooks or to treat ebooks and audiobooks kind of exactly the same. And it removes the gamification that sometimes can happen with subscription services. And one other cool thing about it is that you're also getting paid for rereads. So anytime that somebody's going back to an old book, because it's the amount of time that somebody is spending with your title. So to go through this, we'll start on the left side here with the main metrics. So we have our main pool of subscribers. So then what we do with this is that we divide the total revenue from the subscribers with the total minutes that have been consumed in that month in that geo. And that division gives us our value per minute. So this is very similar to what your price per page would be on Amazon. We have your value per minute. And then to calculate the title payout, we take all of the minutes that have been consumed by your books. We multiply that by the value per minute and then divide that by 60%, which is your title payout. And then to add an additional feature, the calculating reads is that we take the total minutes consumed per title and then we divide it by 300 and that equals a read. So what I mean by that is that when you're looking at your Kobo Plus reads, you'll sort of notice that they're in multiples of 300 minutes. It's basically just the equivalent of a one book unit. And the reason that we did this is that when we launched Kobo Plus, publishers wanted to be able to calculate like an apples to apples comparison of one sale versus otherwise minutes is sort of hard to gauge. So 300 minutes is kind of what we consider the equivalent of one whole book being read. So yeah, it obviously will vary each month. It varies by, number of subscribers that are in and out. And each territory has, different people, but it generally doesn't really change that much. But you can see all the information on your dashboard and in your invoices as well. And here's an
Okay, I'm going to
overview.
back you up there, Tara.
Oh,
I'm sure
sure.
there's some questions on that, so I'm going
Yeah, I know
to.
I know this slide looks very complicated, but
Well, there's a lot to catch up on. So just can you
mhm.
explain the value per minute calculation again?
Yeah, so say if we're considering Canada, so we would take all of the subscribers, what they've paid, their total revenue for that month, and then we divide that by all of the minutes that were consumed, and that gives us the value of the minute. It's taking the total revenue from our subscribers and dividing it by the minutes.
So if I made $1,000 in my total revenue, maybe we can just make an easy example. So I made $1,000.
Well, the revenue is from the subscribers, right? So this isn't the author revenue.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah,
okay,
it's like the customers. So this is like all of the customers that are subscribed to Kobo Plus,
right.
and then all of the minutes for all of Kobo, and then that gives us the value of the minute.
Oh, I see. I see. I see. I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah, and then the title, then we use that value per minute to base it on the title. So then, say your book, we take all of the minutes that your books were consumed, and then we multiply it by the value per minute, and then 60% of that is your title payout.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So someone took, I don't know, an hour to read my book,
hmm
and the value per minute was $1 per minute. I would
hmm
get $60
60% of
or
$60.
60%
Yeah.
of $60. Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Okay. I think I got that.
I know it's like it makes sense to me now, but it also took me. Maybe I didn't explain it very clearly
Well, it's a
because
very new concept, right?
yes, yeah,
I- it's just a new concept. You got to think about it a minute. Okay, so it's
Mhm.
3%. So does the value per minute vary per month depending on how much reading subscribers are doing?
It does. It does. So it will vary in the same way that like a page read would vary. It really doesn't change very significantly. But it does vary per month. But you can see it in your invoices. We have them each month and it'll show you the value per minute as being calculated. But sometimes slight variations, but it's usually by like, I don't know, when you're in the 0.0006 part of the, it's like so minute. It doesn't vary on a very dramatic scale.
Right. And so we could calculate how long did it take me to write this book? And then the value. What did I really make here?
I mean, you could.
I don't know. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah. Okay.
No
Wow.
worries.
Okay. Anybody else have questions on that before we move on? I don't want anyone to get lost here. Okay. So I'm going to
No?
assume that we're good there. All right. Now you may keep going, Tara. Thank you.
Okay. So this is showing you where everywhere in the world that Kobo Plus is. I need to find a better way to do this because we've launched so many territories that it's now hard to get the graphic. But we're in 21 countries. I think we've launched 6 this year alone. We launched India, Taiwan, Hong Kong, South Africa, Ireland. five. Oh, and Switzerland. I knew there was a sixth one. So we've launched six in 2024. So this is just to say that we're in all of our core English geos, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the US, the UK, Ireland, a number of all of our main European geos, and then expanding into the Nordics, and then the Hong Kong, Taiwan, and India as well. So we just really have a really vast area of places where people can reach Kobo Plus, which is really interesting, and we'll continue to roll out. I can't really say where, but you can expect to see new territories being added. One of the cool features that we did was when we built this for authors was when you opted into all territories, it includes any future territories. So whenever we roll, like, because we've just been rapidly rolling these out, you don't have to do anything. Your books are already included. If you don't want that, you do have the option of just selecting the territories you want as well. But we wanted to make this as kind of seamless as possible so everyone's books can be accessed easily once they're in a new territory. So you don't have to do anything on your side.
Okay, I have a question on that too.
Yeah.
So we've got people using Fictionary from 63 countries.
Mm.
We've got people writing manuscripts in, I'm going to see if I remember, but French, Spanish, Swedish, Dutch, uh, Italian. So basically any of the Roman-based character set. So if I'm an author and I've written my book in French, can I sell it in French, or like, do you specify what language your book is in for it to go out?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
how does
You can
that work?
select the language option. And then Kobo Plus is available, I think, in all of the countries you mentioned. So it's a really cool thing to do that we can see that local books do get read in those areas. So we have a team that are based in France, the Netherlands, and Italy just for Kobo Writing Life. We have more colleagues kind of all over the world, but they're merchandising non-English content specifically. So there's a lot of opportunities there as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you.
No problem. And then I have some best practices, and so I feel like I'm running out of time, but I'm going to keep going. But so just some of the top tips I think for kind of optimizing and making the most out of your Kobo Writing Life experience. And like I said, discoverability really is the trickiest part of publishing these days. So you want to make sure that you're enhancing your discoverability. Series metadata is key. I think a lot of the books that are published through Kobo Writing Life are part of a series. So you want to make sure that your series name is entered exactly the same on all of your books. If there's a typo or accidentally have two spaces or you use an ampersand instead of and, our system has a hard time of connecting them to one another. So I would just make sure that your series name is exactly the same and that you're also taking advantage of the volume number option. So because we want to prompt the user, hey, I finished this book. We're going to give you the next book in the series, or not give it to you, but we're going to show you. Here's where you can buy the next book in the series. But so if you don't have the numbers correct, it's hard for us to do that. We accept 0. So if you have any prequels, you can include a 0. We also accept a 0.5 integer. So for any kind of like in between novellas, or if you add things like that, that's an option that you can do. If a book isn't in a series, yes, you can edit your metadata at any time. Great name, Tara. You can add that at any time and it'll be linked together. So if you say you have a standalone and then actually you're like, I'm going to write a sequel and add it back. Yeah, you can do that at any time. And then this is to show you what it looks like, where we're really trying to encourage customers to like search by the series. So this is Penny Reed's Winston Brothers series here, where if you're typing it in, you can kind of scroll down and see the series itself. And this is a snapshot of like the product page on Kobo. So you can see at the bottom here, we have the books in this series. So this is why it's really key to have the numbers. And there's even an add series to cart button where we're really trying to encourage people to like, hey, do you want to have this whole series in one button? You can do that really easily. But yeah, without having the metadata for this, we're not able to fill this area. So that's just something that I definitely would recommend. And then bundling the books. Box sets are super popular on Kobo. That's something that we hear a lot from authors. The sweet spot seems to be about when your series has 3 or more books. We definitely have duets. Like I think there's an example here, Cynthia Eden's, like there's a 2 book, but 3 seems to be the magic number. I'm not really too sure if there's a science behind why or anything, but a lot of the books are kind of in trilogies. Or people tend to do sets of 3 if you have a very long series. So that's something that I would kind of consider. And then you should also, I would create a new book cover. I like to think of book covers for box sets or almost like ads for your series. So it doesn't necessarily have to be um, similar to it doesn't have to be like your stacked book traditionally or anything like that. You can kind of play around with the cover. Like these are kind of just some examples of different ways I think that authors are doing kind of clever things with box sets. Like Bella Andres is not even showing any books there, but it's just very clear that that's a box set when you're going through the metadata. I like the Claire Flynn one where it has kind of like the theme, but also the books underneath. But so I would definitely invest in kind of a separate cover for your box sets. And just consider and make sure that your book file is easy to navigate. Just because the larger the box sets get, you just have to keep in mind that somebody might want to bounce back and forth from it. Um, so that's something to consider. And one thing as well is that there's no higher price cap. So if your book's priced over $9.99, you'll still get 70% on each sale. So as a result of this, we actually see a lot of authors doing Kobo specific mega box set bundles where they're like 20 books and it's $50. And those are being sold on Kobo and those are being read in Kobo Plus as well. And we do a number of promotions that are just for box sets as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about pricing too high. What I would say is that people, readers on Kobo tend to see box sets as like a convenient way to have the series in one place. They're not necessarily looking for a bargain. So I would price your books per their value. However much that makes, round it up so it's a nice looking number. But you don't necessarily have to have your fixed price doesn't have to be discounted for a box set. I would say kind of price it at its value and then consider how you can promote the box set in different ways. And then I also think you should think globally. I think I've talked about it a little bit now about what kind of reach that we have around the world. But one thing that is really important is to consider your pricing in global currencies. So with Kobo Writing Life, you can set the price in 15 currencies. And now I really wish there was just one button, which would make all of the pricing pretty. But unfortunately, there isn't. I'm hoping to have that soon. But we really encourage you to optimize your pricing. So what I mean by that is, so for example, if your book in this example is $4.99, that converts to $6.53 in Australian dollars. So in Australia, the reader might be like, that's sort of a weird looking price. I'm used to a 99-cent price point. So I would encourage you to kind of round up to the 99-cent price point just because we've all been sort of conditioned to respond to that. And then you'll also earn a little bit more on every sale. So I would take the time and optimize all of the currencies. If you don't have time for that, if you have a large catalog, I would at least do the kind of the core ones. The USD, Canadian, Australian and New Zealand dollars, the euro, and the Great British pound. Those would be kind of like the main ones to make sure you're getting. And especially Canada. Canada is our largest market. So sometimes we see people just posting the USD price and not optimizing for Canadian. And I feel like you're just leaving money on the table. You could just you could be getting like, 30, 40 cents more on each sale. As Christina and I know, unfortunately, it is not dollar for dollar. Everything is a little bit more expensive up here, but customers are used to that, sadly. So I definitely would make sure that you're optimizing your pricing. And if you've been publishing for a while, consider your older pricing. Like when was the last time you looked and saw what your books were priced at? We're kind of everything is a little bit more expensive now, which is a sad reality. But also, ebook pricing is slowly climbing. Indies is climbing and traditional pricing is coming down. Eventually, they're going to meet in the middle. So, just something to consider like maybe you published a book 5 years ago and you haven't changed your base price. I would go and look at that and look and see what are similar books in that genre, in that theme. What are they priced at on Kobo and other markets? And make sure you're kind of revising that to just go over and make sure that you're not leaving money on the table. And then I would say sorry, I just missed this, to celebrate your wins. So we have this awesome dashboard where you can see and track all of the wins that you have. It combines your ebooks and audiobook sales. We even have pre-order numbers and you have your free titles here as well. So it's all combined in one easy place. And we also integrated your Kobo Plus. So that's on another tab where you can see it's updated on a monthly basis, but you can see all of the minutes read and your earnings from ebooks and audiobooks. So it's kind of easy to use and really easy to navigate. And then finally, because I feel like I've used the entire time, sorry, Christina, but so join the Kobo Writing Life community. So this is what I was saying at the start, where you get access to my team. We're book lovers. We're super active in the indie community. You can contact us at writinglife@kobo.com or follow us on any of the socials at Kobo Writing Life. We most recently just joined Threads, which has a thriving indie publishing community. Our CEO was on it prior to us being on it and heavily encouraged us to join. So that's something that I would say it seems to be where people are moving over and the conversation is taking place at the moment. And then we have the Kobo Writing Life podcast, which is a bi-weekly podcast. We've had over 350 episodes. So there's lots for you to choose from, where we have business tips with authors, industry news, lots of different things. We're recording one soon with we just had a writing competition with Kobo Originals, and we're going to be talking to the author that won that and going through that piece. But it's a really cool just resource, I think. And then also I want to plug the KWO Quill, which is our monthly newsletter. And it has professional pointers about how to grow your self-publishing business from some of the industry's top experts. So, and even if you're not publishing with Kobo, I would say to kind of sign up for it. It's a really good resource. We dive into kind of like a different genre each month that we think people should be aware of. I think we were just talking about romantasy because that's like the buzzword at the moment. But it's a really long, thorough newsletter with tons of information. So I would recommend signing up for that. And then we also do monthly live Q&As on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube that I host with my colleague Laura, where we talk to authors. We sometimes do genre specific roundtables. And then we do kind of like Kobo style or AMA style ones as well, where it'll just be the Kobo team and you can come up and ask us questions and we'll kind of go through things. We've had one specifically about Kobo Plus where it's like, ask us any of your Kobo Plus questions and we'll come in live and answer them for you. So we do that on a monthly basis. I'm trying to think who we have coming up and I cannot remember on the top of my head. But you can check those out on Facebook and YouTube. They will permanently live there as well. So if you can't tune in live, you can check them after the fact. So yes, and thank you. I'll leave this up. This is my information. Feel free to send me an email. Because it's tara.kremen@rakuten.com. If you had written down our Writing Life email, a top tip is that if you just write Tara anywhere in your email, that will come directly to me. So you don't have to remember this different, harder email to remember. But I'm happy to answer any questions or have the team sort of help with any problems there may be, or just kind of any inquiries. So yeah.
Thank you, Tara. Anyone want to come off mute or type in questions in the chat? You're most welcome to. That was a ton of information.
I know. Sorry. It was like
That's
too
okay.
much.
I took one whole page of notes on
Well, I
this.
can also share the deck if that's helpful.
That'd be fantastic. We can when we put out the replay, we can put the deck there. I'm gonna go study my minutes, how much I can understand that. So super fascinating. I'm sure, I know I've made the mistake on the series title with having oops at extra space. And then you think, why aren't those linked? I don't understand what's
I
happening.
know, or just like a typo you didn't even notice. It's something that we see all the time where we'll look in and it can be hard because you're having to look one by one for each book. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure they're linked so that the customers know and that they can go to the next title.
For sure. We have a lot of series writers in our community.
Yeah.
And look, Connie did 2 pages of notes. She beat me out. We'll share those together. Oh, what did you write down? Yeah. Can I ask about any feedback on AI generated audiobooks from customers?
Yeah, it's something that we really closely monitored when we were kind of opening it up, and we haven't received any sort of negative feedback. Nothing that I am aware of anyway so far. Because I think it's really important that the books are labeled so it's very clear that this is machine narrated versus AI or versus human narrated. I think they kind of know as well because the price point seems to be a lot lower.
Right.
Yeah, so I think in an ideal world there's like a space for like you want the really high quality production audiobook, or
Sure.
maybe you want just to kind of like, I mean, sometimes I'm terrible for listening to audiobooks on double speed, which is insane. But sometimes then the narrator does get lost either way. But customers, we haven't received a lot of negative feedback around it because we just want to make sure that yeah, that it's very clear. That would be
Right.
the worst thing, is that people feel like they got duped into
Right. And
not.
that's not good. So if
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
super clear up front, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, and then just one more question on that one. If you put your book up, your ebook is 9.99,
Hmm.
say, would you, and then you have an AI generated ebook, would you put, would you say like you put the same price or like, because typically audiobooks are really expensive, right? Is that right?
Oh,
I
you mean
don't
for audiobooks? Yeah.
know.
So it can audiobooks tend to be on the higher price point. So our so if your book's over 2.99 for audiobook, you'll earn 35%. And then I think we have a price cap of you price up to, I believe it's $35.
Right.
So I like the over 20 seems to be sort of like definitely normalized. Some of the, I mean, if it's a traditional publisher front list book, those audiobooks are $60. Like
I know.
it's like,
I know. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm just wondering, like, with the price point, then if you're putting it up as an AI generated one,
that's what they tend to be much lower. Like, so
yeah,
people tend to kind of have them in lower, which kind of also indicates to the customer what they're buying, I think.
right.
But something as well to consider is that they can be added to Kobo Plus and consumed in that way as well.
Right, right. Interesting. Oh, I learned so much today. That's fantastic. Okay, so one question from Alberto. Are you planning to expand to Latin America?
Yeah, we actually expanded the Kobo store. So I see you're in Mexico. We partner with Perua and Gandhi in Mexico, where we power their ebooks and audiobooks. So we have the Kobo stores available there, and we actually just launched Kobo.com in Argentina, Peru, Colombia, and Chile earlier this year. So Kobo.com is available there right now. Kobo Plus, I am not allowed to say. But the people can access Kobo books all over the world.
Nice. Very nice. All righty. Well, we're just under the hour. Thank you so much, Tara. Really appreciate it. We did record this, so it will go up in the community. What day are we today? I don't even know what day it is. Monday. Oh, it'll be up this later this week. Lots of
Okay.
time, and it'll go up on our YouTube channel as well, so everybody can have a relook, and people who couldn't make it today can see it then. So thank you, and appreciate everybody who came today, and hope everyone has a lovely day.